This is going to be another progress update about my journey from going from a part-time to a full-time artist. And right now progress has been pretty slim, so why is that? So mainly procrastination. It's always procrastination. There's certain things that I thought about doing, but then got overwhelmed at the idea of doing them because the goals were just too big and meaty, so then I didn't do anything. It's kind of weird when I kind of think about this idea of procrastination. You know, it's seen as a bad thing you want to get rid of straight away. But sometimes I just like to reflect on, well, what does it mean? Like, why exactly am I procrastinating? There must be a good reason for it, because it's not good. Like, the feelings you get when you don't do the thing that needs doing can be quite negative. You know, you can feel quite anxious, or you feel like you've let yourself down. You can feel quite angry at yourself, quite down on yourself, whatever. So you think, well, why would you ever do that? But then I think what's happening is there's two things at play going on in our minds. You basically have, I haven't really fully formulated this idea, but I think you've basically got like two brains or two personalities within yourself at odds with each other. The one personality that wants the instant gratification, or the just is only concerned about survival, and then you've got the other personality which is more in tune with sort of rationality, long-term planning, stuff like that. And you feel when you're thinking, when you're making some deliberate effort to sit down and maybe think about what you want from your life, like that is the rational brain, and that becomes who you are. And then it always feels like when you're thinking about what you want, that you need, especially in the long term, that this other part of you is just getting in the way. It's just there to make life difficult, that it shouldn't be entertained. In fact, you've got to try and do whatever you can to not let it get its way, because everything it wants is going to be detrimental to the future goal that you want. But I think what's really going on is you are also that other brain, that other personality. You are also that destructive, negative, annoying you. And I think we all need to realise that we are that person, we are that personality, we are that brain, we are that, I don't know, some people call it the monkey mind, or the lizard brain, or the I don't know, the right hemisphere, or is it the left? There's different sort of terms for it, but we are both of it. And I kind of feel like what's happening in our brains is we're basically just shifting between that kind of awareness of being one personality and then back to the other personality, and then we're constantly shifting. And it's kind of funny how when you're in that kind of instant gratification, survival mode, here and now state, you don't listen to the rational state. And when you're in the rational state, you don't want to listen to the other state. And trying to work with that seems to be the problem. And normally it's always a case of, you know, like if you're like, okay, I'm struggling to fulfill my goals. Why? You know, if anyone was to seek out advice, anyone was to ask, you know, family, friend, stranger, someone on the internet, the problem would just be, oh, well, you need to stop doing this, you need to stop doing that, you know, you need to take control, you need to do this. But that advice, that person telling you that you need to do that, doesn't necessarily appreciate that you are also the thing that you shouldn't be, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, I think maybe I'm thinking in this weird kind of abstract way that I don't fully understand, because I am two personalities living within my own brain, and maybe it can't fully be understood. But after all said and done, I think what I'm trying to say is sometimes you need to admit that you have this other side to you that just wants the immediate gratification, on the short term sort of survival type, not necessarily just survival, but it wants that cake, or it wants that whatever it is, that little ego boost. Even if it's not cake, it might be some kind of thing that you wish you didn't need. Because I'm thinking, like, even sometimes I will look at these sort of fitness personalities, personal trainer types on YouTube. If ever I'm sort of looking for more sort of workout type advice, and a lot of them eat really well, they do really good at their job, but I wonder if there's a part of them that, I'm sure there is a part of them that they fail to mention is a part of them. This kind of, I wouldn't say negative side, but this other aspect of themselves, which is actually controlling half of their behaviours half the time. Like, I don't think you can be completely rational and do the quote unquote right things all the time. I think even if you're that sort of fitness personality type, if you really look at what it is you're doing on a deeper level, you might realise that actually you're doing a lot of kind of status seeking and showing off, and deep down you kind of feel as though you're maybe even not good enough, or that you are good enough, you're better than everyone else. And there's a negative side of that, because really it's not normal to be like a man who's massively muscled, really ripped, like a 5% body fat. That's not normal at all. That's an extreme, but that is what a lot of the sort of high ranking fitness gurus would let you believe, that that's good to be like that. And it looks good aesthetically. It looks really cool. I admire it, and I admire the dedication to get to that level, if that's kind of what you want to do. But yeah, there is another side to it, which I don't think most people would admit to. They would just think, no, you're just being stupid. No, I'm not insecure, or no, I don't think I'm better than anyone else, or this isn't a narcissistic thing or a me thing, or I don't have, I'm not doing this for ulterior motives, because everyone says, I just want to be fit and healthy. I just want to be fit and healthy. It's like, no, you don't get super muscly and super ripped and low body fat if you just want to be healthy. There's something else going on there, and I think people just don't want to lose face. They don't want to admit it. Fair enough, but there is something else going on there. So anyway, yeah, I'm dealing with this issue of procrastination, and I know it's because I've got this side of me which is, I guess, in some way taking over and stopping me from doing what I want to do, or what I need to do, because maybe what I want to do isn't what I need to do, and that's the trouble. So yeah, like, I mean, in an ideal world, I'm identifying myself as an artist, because I kind of think that's the one skill that I have that I'm reasonably good at, so I might as well just say that I am the artist, even though I'm aware of the fact that I'm not in the top 1% club. The people that are nailing it, the people that are the full-time artists, that are always going to be full-time artists because they are very good at what they do, they love it, they can't get enough of it, they just want to keep drawing. And even those that don't, like, I know a few artists that are top tier, they can go away, draw a little picture, it might take them sort of 5 or 6 hours, and then they can instantly pretty much just say, yeah, I want £1,000, I want £3,000 for it, and people will be like, yep, I'll take it. And in fact, there's a queue. People feel upset if they don't get the opportunity to hand over thousands of pounds of their hard-earned cash for just a pretty little picture that someone did, in an afternoon. It's kind of weird, but yeah, obviously I'd love to be in that bracket. I don't think I ever will be. Never say never, but yeah, it's that kind of thing where you can just doodle a sketch, and it's it's almost like printing money, because I mean there are artists who are so famous. I mean, just think of especially in the West, because we're not in contact with a lot of Japanese professional manga artists. So if you've got like this guy Oda who does One Piece, the manga, if he decided to do a quick 15-minute sketch, I mean 15 minutes at his sort of level where he's very experienced in drawing, he could probably do something quite decent. Okay, let's just say 5 minutes or 10 minutes. If he was to put that in the hands of some European or American fan and said, yeah, here you go, you can have this, and if you want you can put it on eBay and sell it for as much as you can get for it, or some other type of online art auction or something, like he could probably get a good, I don't know, £5,000 for that at least, depending on exactly what it is, and it just, yeah, like it's quick, I don't know if he knows this. I don't know if, I always wonder this about these kind of famous artists, because I mean, I know people that aren't nearly as famous as, like, the artists that did some of the popular manga that's currently, well, not even currently, that has gone out. But yeah, and they're making, like I say, they can make £2,000 from an afternoon's work from a drawing. It'll have to be a higher quality drawing than probably what the equivalent sort of manga artist might put out. But yeah, I always wonder, because I'm aware of the collectible art space and what things can go for just if it has the name attached to it, and I always wonder if they are aware that there are collectors out there that will pay £5,000 for a 15 to 30 minute sketch from certain artists that are obviously famous in their own country or within their own sort of field, but maybe they just don't come into contact with collectors, or maybe they feel that it would be too dishonourable to take that kind of money. It might be a bit exploitative of fans to take that much money for things like that, so maybe they wouldn't even consider it. But yeah, I just wonder if they ever think about the fact that, yeah, if they wanted to, it'd be more efficient for them to just sit there for a few hours drawing pictures, which they would then sell for thousands of pounds, than it would be to just go to the local cash machine ATM and withdraw that money from their account. Because in order to get dressed, get your shoes on, go for a walk into town, or in some cases a drive depending where you live, or take public transport, whatever. You've got to go to a bit of effort to get to to get out of the house and go to the ATM. But perhaps it's more time efficient to effectively print or draw your own money. Yeah, I always wonder if that's the case. I mean, there's a few artists that just, anything they do is just going to be worth so much money. Comic artists as well, like American comic artists like Alex Ross or something. That one of his paintings could easily go for tens of thousands of dollars if ever he was to say, yeah, you know what, I think I'm just going to get rid of this. Just did it for fun. Yeah, it took a week, but I'm going to get rid of it. And that artist is making what other artists on the kind of lower rungs are probably making from their art in a year or 2 years or 3 years. It's crazy. Anyway, just a bit about artists and money, really. So anyway, yeah, let's get back to this idea that, yeah, the monkey brain, or the immediate brain or personality, has been causing me to indulge in my unproductivities, my procrastination. And part of it was just, I think I triggered it a little bit, and part of it was because things have been getting on top of me, I think, in general. So yeah, like I say, in general, I've not been feeling too great. I've had this flu thing for about 3.5 weeks now. I can feel it slowly starting to actually go now, which is good. I've got a bit of an occasional cough. Lungs are a little bit tight. Probably couldn't quite exercise in the way I'd ideally want, but I can walk around. Actually went climbing the other day, and I didn't push myself too hard, but it was the first time on the wall for nearly a month, and I did okay. Funnily enough, even though I was trying really not been for a while. I was trying to sort of look after myself, not push myself too hard. And it was actually later that afternoon, I just bent over to pick something up, and I ended up putting my back out, and had really bad backache for the rest of that day and the next day afterwards, and a little bit today, in fact. It's kind of funny. Just I had it like the week before, just doing some morning stretching, and then this week just by bending over to pick a thing up. Something that I would do and have done 1,000 times. It's just this by chance it messed up for some reason. So, but anyway, the cold's been getting me down a bit. So that's kind of put me in a pretty kind of negative mindset, because you just think, is this ever going to get better? It's just like being ill, and I just had low motivation, low energy, and it gets to that point where you just think, you start even questioning, do I even want to be an artist? Do I even want to? You can go really low with it. You can just be like, do I even want to do anything ever? And if so, what does that mean? So I've had a little bit of that, and then I was talking to a friend about this idea of novelty, and how it's funny that the older you get, the less novelty you tend to experience in life. As you're young, everything's new. You're experiencing it for the first time. It's amazing. It's great. It's funny, like kids today probably look at films that come out that I think are pretty mediocre, but they love it. There's a big thing about it. Everyone's talking about, have you seen the latest series or the latest film? Or, and they really enjoy it, and fair enough, but it's pretty mediocre. And I don't know whether that's just because, something has to be good, like genuinely good to its core, to like really connect with me and inspire me, and for me to enjoy it. And if it doesn't have that, and it's just relying on flashiness, then I can't really get into it. I know a lot of people are like, but look at the CGI, best film ever. And I'm like, why? Because it has CGI that looks good now, that's going to look really dated in 10 years, and you're going to think, this looks ugly. And I'm like, yes, exactly. It's going to look ugly in 10 years. And you're going to think, I don't know why I liked this so much, because I was valuing it on a sort of level where that level is going to get changed really quick. It's quite a shallow sort of level to value something on. Anyway, that's just a little thing. But I was thinking about just the fact that I don't feel like there's a lot of novelty, novel experiences, novel things going on in life. Things seem a little bit flat, and I'm putting it down to age, as well as maybe just feeling a bit low in general. So I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to suddenly become a world-renowned artist, or better yet, this goal of going even from part-time to full-time as an artist, it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, it might even take 10 years for someone to even get to a stage where they can go part-time. So to then go to that next rung, who knows how long that's going to take. So I just thought, okay, let's just think about something else in life. This idea of not really experiencing anything original and novel and exciting or whatever. And it doesn't have to be like going on grand holidays or doing crazy things, spending loads of money. But just those kind of novel feelings. I mean, me being a fan of anime and games and comics and cartoons, things like that growing up, I kind of thought, I used to love that stuff. I haven't really experienced like that, the same amount of kind of love and passion, or I kind of have as an adult, or sort of an older adult, I suppose, the age I am now. I have experienced it sometimes, but it becomes less and less frequent, those like real deep, kind of holy hell, this is really good type times. And I thought maybe that's just because I've not been giving things a chance. Like I stopped playing video games pretty much exclusively for about 10 years. Maybe a little bit of dabbling here and there, but I used to be a big gamer. Like I always had a game on the go. I was always a bit of a completionist as well, so I tended to think, okay, well, I've started this 100-hour game. I guess I'm just going to play it until I finish it. And that was the only way I'd allow myself to then move on to the next thing. I kind of realised that was just eating up a lot of my time, and yeah, I still think that, but perhaps I just gave in to this this other side of myself and just thought, yeah, I think you should give in to that. And you're thinking about this idea of experiencing more sort of novel experiences, so maybe you just need to start gaming again or doing a little bit of that. So I didn't do anything major. Like, I mean, I have this year, in fact, I've actually probably played more games than I have for a long time. And some of it's been really good. I think playing and completing Resident Evil 8 was really good. Really good thing I did this year. Another game that I played this year, Vampire Survivor. Fucking hell, that's addictive. That is such a fun game for some. Like, everyone said that it was a really addictive, fun game, but you look at it and you think, I don't know. It looks pretty crap. But it was just fun, and it did have that kind of like fun novel experience. Anyway, the other day I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try booting up a few old games from my phone, because I've got not a lot. I've got 10 phone app games that I've downloaded over the last decade. Most of my gaming I try to just most it's PlayStation, Xbox, or a little bit of PC. I try not to do the phone gaming too much, but I do like a game of poker. So I thought, right, there's this poker game that I used to play a lot, Governor of Poker. I thought, right, load that up. Not played that for a while, and it's one of those games where at every turn you're incentivized to keep playing it or keep looking at it, and it keeps obviously wanting you to buy in-game chips, poker chips. And I'm normally pretty good at resisting the kind of the micro purchases and little buys and stuff. Even when there's a deal where it's like, you do feel a little bit tempted, and then they say, oh yeah, we're going to give you the same deal, but we're going to give you 5 times the amount of stuff today. And you feel, wow, I'm getting a bit more tempted. And then the next week it's like, okay, this is the 10-year anniversary. This one actually came up. It said it was the Governor of Poker's 10-year anniversary deal. We're going to do this for one day only. Get all this stuff, all these extra chips to play with, poker chips, and all this extra the play money to play with, because it's, yeah, just to make the point that it's not a real gambling game where you're actually investing your real money, but you buy imaginary chips, or you earn, not imaginary, but in-game chips to play with. But yeah, I was never really like drawn by it. I just wanted to use the sort of the daily sort of free money that you get and just do what I did there. So anyway, I logged in, and I think I already had a million poker chips. It's like, oh, if only that was real money. It's about $1 million. And then I thought, okay, let's play this. I think by the end of the week, I had earned 20. I'd turned that million into 20 million. And then I turned that 20 million back to 10 million. And then I went back up to 50 million. And now I'm down to less than 1 million. I've got even less in my online imaginary play money poker chip fund than I had before I even booted it up a week ago. Now, just the reason I'm saying this is because it's kind of funny that you sort of think, wow, what a waste of time. If the end result was to accrue chips, which it feels like, that's the goal really, to get as many chips as you can in the game, or as much sort of money effectively. So that is the goal when you're playing the goal, but the nature of poker is that you can never win all the time, and sometimes you have bad luck. Sometimes you've got a couple of aces. It's no limit Texas Hold'em poker. So you got a couple of aces, and you think, right, 2 pocket aces. I've got this surely. So you bet big, and then someone you go all in. And you sort of, the reveal happens. Someone else has got a 3 and an 8 offsuit or something, and then you think, oh, good, I've got it. And then an ace comes up on the flop, and you think, okay, 3 aces, I've definitely got it. And then the whole card, the game plays on it, and you lose it somehow. they end up with a straight or flush or something. I don't know. They end up with a hand that they don't deserve, and you lose all your money. And you think, oh, this is just unfair. Anyway, a couple of things about that game. Firstly, it is really satisfying when you win, but actually, and it did have that novelty, because I hadn't played online poker for ages. Like, I've played it in various forms. There's a couple of poker games I've got on my phone. I used to play online as well at I think it was called Party Poker quite a bit. Mostly, again, play money, a couple of times real money. I'm not really one for gambling. It's just doing it for a little bit of fun. But so anyway, yeah, it was fun to play it again, because I haven't played poker in ages, and I don't know many people IRL that are necessarily willing to have a poker night or whatever. The games I have mostly with people in real life tend to be board games, which I really love as well, which in fact maybe more than poker, so it's fine. But yeah, so I got to experience that kind of novelty, but it was a kind of like, at what cost? That it didn't really matter at the end of the day that I lost this play money. But if it did feel like it mattered at the time, because obviously you're trying to work towards something that seems a bit easier. Because obviously the goal of becoming the full-time artist, that's not going to happen in a week. But I can, make millions and, hundreds, maybe hundreds, but certainly like tens of millions of chips in the course of a week. And it feels like you're actually progressing towards something. And you are, but it's inconsequential. It gives you that feeling of making progress, but not. But then after you're out of it, after you've done the gaming thing for a bit, it's good if you actually have a big loss, because it makes you reconsider if it's worth playing anymore. And I'm at a point now where it's like, I feel like, good, I got it out of my system, I can take it or leave it. So yeah, I got to experience a bit of fun, bit of novelty. I kind of learnt a bit of a lesson from it. But yeah, I think the overall lesson was that I think this is what people do. I think sometimes when you feel like there isn't a really solid opportunity in life, maybe you don't have a really good go-to thing that you can do, or you're not really seeing progress in your goals. Like, maybe you're in a stage where, like, maybe like you're overweight, you're really overweight. It's gonna take you 5 to 10 years of work to lose all the weight and get the kind of fitness bod that you kind of feel like you've been promised to get within a matter of months, or certainly within a year. It's never going to happen. For some people it does. You do see those times where it's like, oh wow, okay, you did all that in 6 months, that's amazing, great. But those stories, I'm sure, I wish there was a statistic for the amount of success to failure ratios in all endeavours generally, because I would imagine for every person that completely nails it, and goes from like seriously overweight to like, thin hot bod within a year, I would imagine those people make up, single digit percentages compared to the people that try it and fail at some point. So yeah, there's no shame in it really, because it's hard, and most people are in the same boat. If that's something that you were struggling with, then it's kind of, you can take some solace in the fact that everyone's going to struggle with it. But yeah, so anyway, what's my point? So yeah, online poker, wanted to experience something a bit different, did it, and it was a good lesson as a kind of reminder as well. Like I got the kind of the little novelty buzz from kind of enjoying it, not having played it in a while, but also it reminded me of the lesson that if you're gonna spend your time doing something, you kind of might as well do something that is going to actually aid your life in the real world. But that's not necessarily a strict rule, because the real world sucks. The real world is boring. The real world is a slow slog in a lot of aspects. So, but at least it's a reminder that of that fact. Even despite the fact that real world stuff's often a hell of a lot harder to achieve things in. So there was that little added benefit from the thing. So anyway, that's online poker. It's nothing to do with art, but it's just a little tale of procrastination. And another thing, I think I needed to get it out of my system. I think, I kind of obviously had this earning for a little bit of excitement somehow, even if it's play money in an online poker app game. For whatever reason, that was my thing that I went to, and I did it, got it out of my system, and I think that's good. It's good that, because that I kind of feel like that would always be there, that other brain, other person inside of me would have been niggling at me, trying to persuade me to go in that direction, and I've kind of done it now. So hopefully it's now somewhere out of my system. I might still load the game up for a quick go, because now I'm somewhat in the habit of it, having logged on pretty much multiple times a day over the last week. But yeah, it's a thing that needed to do, and I was just willing to just submit to it and just be like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to fight it. Me or a part of me wants to do this thing, so I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to beat myself up, and because I think it's easy to read a book about, I don't know, motivation or self-control or something, and it just highlights all the things that you need to do, or all the things that you're currently doing that you shouldn't do, and then you can feel quite bad that you're not doing it, or that you've still got this desire to do these apparently destructive things. I mean, they are destructive in a way, but like I say, they're kind of necessary in another. Like sometimes you have to go through these kind of destructive episodes to kind of get out your system. And I think maybe that's better. Maybe that may be better than resisting things and then kind of building up this kind of resentment that you can't do it, or to just do it a little bit, get out your system, and then crack on with the journey. I feel like that's a better way of dealing with life than completely going cold turkey. But maybe that's just me. Anyway, I might be wrong. I might just sound like I'm justifying it, but I think there's something in that. So yeah, art-wise, what have I been doing? So I've done a little something. I've been working towards this this game of mine, Total Blast, this 2-player card game. So I drew this character, and the king. So he's going to be one of the characters in the game. I've just sort of neatened him up, inked him, ready for colour. So that was a little something that I got on with this week. So it's not been completely wasted. Did some other bits of painting and a few other jobs as well. So yeah. I also had this request recently. It was a bit of an interesting one. So it was a marketing agency that wanted me to do a tutorial for a drawing event. And I was like, okay, so tell me more. So basically there's this Lord of the Rings anime that's coming out shortly this year. And as part of the marketing efforts for this anime, I was asked if I wanted to... I think basically the idea was for me to get me in a room with up to or around 35 influencers. So I'm guessing mostly YouTubers that I would then teach to draw themselves, like portraits of themselves, in an anime style, and such that they could then fit themselves somehow into a scene from this Lord of the Rings anime. The whole point would then be for the influencers to go back to their fans and say, hey, look what I did. I tried to do me as an anime, with hilarious consequences, or perhaps not, and the whole reason was to promote this event. I don't know, that's what they wanted to do, and I was kind of interested in the idea of it. And then I remembered a couple of things. Firstly, the day they wanted to do the event on was a day that I already had planned anyway, so it wasn't going to work. Could have asked to move it, but I kind of thought, I don't know if I really want to do it. You know, like I've done the tutorial thing. I did the how to draw books, and they're out there. And if you don't know how to draw anime and manga style, or want it just improve your general drawing techniques, I can pretty much guarantee there's something in those books that is going to help in that endeavour. So it's good, okay, they're out there, but I'm not really necessarily a teacher, or I don't like teaching. I've said in a previous video, I hated when I was at school and I'd be drawing something and I'd have an audience. I'd have the kid behind me, breathing down the back of my neck, scrutinising every line that I would do, waiting to see this apparent, what they thought would be a masterpiece appear on the page. Okay, that's great. They enjoyed it. They were mesmerised by it. I was doing something that they couldn't do, fine. But I never enjoyed that experience. I don't like being watched while I draw. And like I mentioned in another video, I don't like being watched when I'm tattooing as well. Even though I worked as a tattoo artist for about a decade and I couldn't really get away from it. But the key word there was did work as a tattoo artist. I'm not doing that anymore and I don't have to worry about it. So I'm like, whew. So even though there was this opportunity, it's like, oh, good, finally. It's great to have an opportunity to do something in a related kind of thing to what I've done, So, okay, I've done tutorial stuff. I do anime and manga stuff. I could potentially do this, but yeah, just doing it to people seems pretty scary, like public speaking. I mean, I can imagine the types of people that might be those kind of influencer types as well. Like managing those, they're not going to be, I don't know whether I could stand out and be the authority amongst a lot of people that have, feel that they are the authority, certainly within their niches, within their, for their audiences. So it kind of felt like a big ask. And also I think drawing anime portraits, I've done it a few times before, but I find it difficult. Getting a resemblance is actually quite difficult. I mean, almost impossible with anime. Like, you can get it sometimes, but it depends how stylized you want to be with it. Like, if you want something quite, like a Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, cartoony-ish anime, it's very difficult to get those kind of likenesses. And it can happen sometimes, but sometimes you need quite distinctive faces for it to work. I mean, there are people that specialise in anime portraiture. I mean, they'd be a better sort of person to ask, probably rather than me, to do it anyway. But yeah, I've tried to do it a few times before, and I've always found it difficult. Like, I'm not a caricaturist. And I think the way I work as well, like, I'm quite thoughtful in how I create artwork. It's probably because I'm just, I'm not a natural artist. I'm not naturally talented. So everything I create, I have to really sit down and think about it. And, some things kind of come easily and I can kind of fluke it sometimes. Sometimes I have off days and I can't believe how bad my artwork looks. It's just, I know a lot of people say, oh, the expert that says, oh, my artwork's horrible, I'll throw it in the trash, and actually it's really good, and they're just being over dramatic or silly. But no, I genuinely can't draw good stuff. And yeah, I thought it might just be too humiliating for me. And yeah, I just thought it wasn't really for me. I thought I wasn't really the right kind of fit for it. And normally I would say yes to these things. Like I mentioned in a previous video, even with the how to draw books that I've done in the past, I didn't feel like I was ready to teach how to draw in a book, per se. Like I could teach enough, and I guess it was fine because I could teach in my own way. I've always felt like I'm better at writing than I am about verbally communicating. So I was happy to kind of do that to some degree, in a book, and kind of just know that, okay, I'm gonna go away, do this book, and, you know, at the end of it, I'm going to learn a thing or two from the whole process. As far as a sort of public speaking event goes, I might be willing to do certain things like that, but they'd have to be in a different kind of context. Like, I don't want to have to go to a certain environment that I just feel like I'm a bit out of my depth, teaching something I'm not fully feeling. And I think, like I say, recently, last 3 weeks or so, not been feeling too great, not really feeling like up for it as well. Just don't feel that excited about it. So a couple of things there. Firstly, I can imagine some people might think, oh, you know, you're wasting a perfectly good opportunity. Why are you doing that? Yeah, I am. But I also know me, and I also know that it's just not worth the hassle and the stress. And I also know things like this come and go all the time. I've had loads of requests to do things similarly like this, and sometimes I've taken them on and they've worked out, and sometimes I've taken them on and they just haven't. Like, it's never going to be something that's going to lead to anything else. Like, I did graphics tablet demos for Wacom and Hitachi, where I was pretty much, you know, doing live drawing in front of people, and they didn't really lead to anything. I suppose the Wacom one led off the back of the Hitachi one to some degree. But since then, I mean, that was years ago I did those, and since, I've never had anyone say, oh, you know, I saw you did this thing, do you want to do another one next week? Like I say, it's been years. It's been years since I went into a university and did a lecture. It's been years since I did any one-to-one teaching or had any requests for it either. So sometimes these things happen and you do it for a bit and you're like, okay, I did it. And then I feel like some art jobs, you do it, you check it off the list. Like I've said in previous videos when I've explained about my art history, I've pretty much done every art job there is, whether it be, you know, one-to-one teaching or lecturing or writing books about art, or, you know, just throw my stuff up on my website, social media, graphic design, web design, tattooing. You know, I was doing some more 3D printing, painting, or just the painting part of the 3D print process. So painting sculptures basically. So I'm kind of up for doing things, but also some things, like, I know they're not going to lead. Firstly, they're not going to lead to anything, and even if they did, I wouldn't want them to. Like, even if I got a load of public speaking events that I could then go out and tour, you know, it might actually be quite good for me, knowing that it's something that I have a bit of a phobia against. I feel like I'd want to do that on my own terms, like, at least let me get back into the swing of just teaching one-on-one, or, you know, kind of teaching people that I know that I've got a lot to offer. I wouldn't want to necessarily teach other artists how to do art, because, you know, they probably know about as much as I do. Or maybe this is just me not feeling very confident in myself, but, you know, whereas kids, you can come up with a basic game plan and teach basic things, and, you know, I mean, anyone could do it really. Even if you can't draw, you could teach a kid how to draw a Pikachu, for example, by just practicing it yourself, you know, starting with a circle, dividing it up into cross-section guidelines, or figuring out how far apart to place eyes and the mouth. And as I'm saying this, I'm realising actually some people couldn't do that. But, yeah. Anyway, good to have an opportunity to do something, but yeah, I had to just mail back and say, you know, on retrospect, I don't think I'll be able to do it, and overall I feel like fine about that. And yeah, so if ever those things appear on influencers' YouTube accounts, there's going to be 35 people apparently talking about how they've drawn portraits of Lord of the Rings characters, you can know that they asked me first. And whoever ends up teaching it, I'd probably be quite interested to know how they do. And maybe I'll look at what they were teaching, and I'll be kicking myself thinking, oh, is that it? Is that all you had to do? You know, maybe I could have got thousands of pounds by just knowing that I only had to devote an hour and a half of my time to do very fundamental stuff. Or maybe I would have been like, oh, actually, I think if I was to try and do the thing that they ended up teaching, I would have really sort of humiliated myself and it wouldn't have worked out. But like I say, those kind of one-off jobs, it's not like doing a full-time job whereby they've said you have to do an internship or an apprenticeship before we start paying you the real money. It's not like, okay, I'll pay my dues knowing that there's something at the end of it. It's just one of those things that's there and then it's not there and then you're back to where you were before. So right now I'd rather just crack on with my little indie game project, and there's another project that I might be working on in November. Basically, I've requested funding to work on another project, but I don't really want to talk about it in case I don't get the funding. And it's a project which I've wanted to do for years, but it is kind of reliant on getting some funding for it. And I think to be honest, it's 50-50 whether I'm going to get it. But certainly that's something I would rather work on. So yeah, I guess this is a bit of a weird message. It's not really so much talking about art as it is talking about how my brain seems to be split in two, and part of it wants to play online poker and part of it being cool with that, or just feeling that as though I was happy to give in to doing that, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But it's funny as well, like I feel like when I do these videos I should probably be saying something very concrete, like some kind of advice, like teaching people how to do a thing or whatever. And it's funny because I'm on this journey to kind of up my art game. I'm also getting sort of news feed, or my news feed is pushing similar topics at me, like how to become a successful artist. There was one I watched recently, so I think it was done by a channel called Art Mentor, and they were talking about things to think about when pricing artwork and getting commissions and stuff like that. And I think it was someone who's pitching more at this kind of stuff, you know, fantasy artwork, game artwork, anime artwork, comic artwork, that kind of genre. And I watched it and I thought, yeah, I mean, I guess there's some good info here, but it just felt like I'd heard this 100 times before, and it just, the whole presentation just felt a bit generic and forced, and yeah, like this was something that I'm almost glad that these videos suck so much, because I had this worry about talking, just talking, because I'm not a very good communicator. I'm not very good at selling myself or sounding enthusiastic or saying the right things, and I don't know what I'm doing with these videos really. And I wondered I've said before, I wondered if I should say anything, because shouldn't I be projecting this professional persona? You know, shouldn't I be going back to, you know, this marketing agency who wanted me to do these anime portrait tutorials and say, oh yes, you know, I'd love to do it, but I really don't have the time. I'll have to consult my busy schedule, or you'll have to speak to my PA about this, and we'll see what you know, my guys can talk to your guys. We'll see what can be arranged. You know, I don't know whether I should try and pretend I'm bigger than I am, because it projects confidence to certain clients that that's all they care about. I was thinking about Steven Seagal recently and his career apparently being a bit of a sham, basically. I mean, I actually like a few Steven Seagal films, so I don't want to completely write him off, but, you know, apparently he spent a lot of his career doing a lot of bullshitting, and, you know, I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know the guy. I'm not even going to comment, but yeah, but this idea that some people actually respond to bullshit, you know, like people that can't draw, they'll look at the stuff I can do and they'll be like, holy shit, this guy's good, we need to hire this guy. Whereas people that can draw will look at what I do and they'll say, okay, he's got some decent stuff, but I could do that. probably, maybe. Or I mean, I look at other artists' stuff often, and I think, I could do that if I wanted to. I just don't want to. It's that saying. Oh yeah, that guy who does a triple backflip out of bed in the morning and lands on his feet. Yeah, I could do that. I just choose not to. No, but seriously, I could probably do things if I wanted to, but yeah, certain styles of art I don't care about. It's like realism artwork or hyper-realism. There are people that are really good at it, and I couldn't do it as good as they could do it because they're veterans at it. They specialise at it. But I could do some really realistic artworks if I wanted to. But I've done it before, and I kind of feel like it's quite relaxing, it's quite therapeutic, and it's a good exercise in attention and kind of technical control of like a pen or a pencil. So anyone who's interested in doing any art, even if you just like abstracts or something, I think it's a good exercise to do in of itself. I think you can learn quite a lot from it. And yeah, I can do it. I can do a decent job of it. It might take me longer than a pro who does it all the time, but I'm pretty confident I could do something that's pretty decent. But I don't really find that very fun. Just noodling away at a hyper realistic picture because they take a long time as well, for like 100 hours. It's like, oh, you know what? I'd rather put a bit more of me into that artwork. I'd rather just communicate my interest. I think that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to communicate my likes and interests through my art in some way. That's why there's certain things that I draw all the time. Not necessarily all the time, but the style, this anime aesthetic, or the types of characters, warriors and robots and stuff like that. I've been a fan of that stuff since I was a kid. I'm still a fan of it now. That's the stuff I would rather draw. And yeah, I just find that kind of stuff a bit more exciting. But not to diminish anyone that does that stuff, because it does take a lot of skill, and I'm sure, like I say, I can't do it as well as someone else who does it, but I could do a decent job. Maybe they'd say, look at my stuff and say, well, I could do what you do, but I find that that's just not as fun for me. I don't know. I mean, actually, no, I do know, because I've known a lot of people who are amateurs, aren't professional, don't want to be professional. They just like dabbling. They don't like doing, just painting some flowers or animal portraits in their spare time. And, they'll say to me, I'm really good at art, but I have to see it in front of me. I'm more of a copier. I'm really good at copying. I'm not really good at making up stuff. It's quite rare that I've ever, in fact, I don't know if I've ever heard someone say, I'm really good at making up stuff. I'm just not very good at making anything look accurate. I mean, I have seen that. I've seen people that, if only they had the technical skill, they've got some actually really good ideas. But normally the people with really good ideas tend to at least be half decent at the technical side of it as well. So, just an observation. But yeah, so yeah, listening to someone else talk about, oh, this is what you should do with art, and I'm just, I don't know, like maybe every video has an audience. Certain things are meant for different types of people, but I think some people are like, you know what, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to teach people to be artists, and I'm going to say all the right things, and I'm going to look like a professional mentor, and I'm going to show people what they should be doing. And fair play to them. If people are resonating with what they're saying and getting something out of it, and people can make money in teaching like that, fair enough. Like, I'm not even criticizing it, because I've done it, so far as like the how to draw books I've done are concerned. But for me, from my side, I'm not getting as much out of that kind of content. I just find it a bit too samey, a bit too shallow, or I kind of know it already. And then it's kind of the worrying thing, like what happens when you actually know it, you know it all. You've watched the videos, or maybe you've even experienced it. Like I say, this video was talking about how to price your artwork, and not to sell yourself short and that kind of stuff. I think it was that the title was a bit clickbaity. I can't remember what it was exactly. It was something like how to make sure you get more clients or something like that. And I was like, this isn't really talking about getting more clients. This is more talking about just general sort of surface level tips in how to go about first starting to offer commissions, I guess. Or that's what it felt like to me. But I don't know. I just feel like, for me, I'm kind of I'm after something a little bit more, because I've already either watched the videos or I've literally done it. It's like, okay, I've had, I don't know how many of these kind of commissions I've had, 100, 200. When I think of like the tattoo customers I've had, which is something I've done more recently than when I was more regularly taking on art commissions. I surely have had a couple of hundred tattoo customers, and I've definitely tattooed probably several hundred sessions, so maybe like 500 customers, something like that. So yeah, I'm not a complete stranger, so it's kind of, this is a weird thing, isn't it? Like, what happens when you've done a lot but you're still not at that kind of pinnacle? You've still got obstacles. I wonder how many people there are out there who, they kind of got so far, and then there's just this sticking point. And a part of me just suspects that I'll always have this sticking point, and I might have to come to terms with the fact that the idea of going full time just is never going to happen, because if it hasn't happened at this point, maybe it's never going to happen. Maybe this, the sort of more destructive or short-term thinking part of my brain will just kick in and just sabotage the whole venture and stop me from achieving the goal. And maybe that is how it should be. Maybe there's a reason why that's happening. Maybe I don't want it enough, or maybe, because this is the thing. I think that some people really enjoy art, and some people, most people probably enjoy it, otherwise they wouldn't do it. Or they started to enjoy it and then maybe they stopped enjoying it, which I think was a bit of me. But also, I never enjoyed it. I never enjoyed the process of creating. I was more a fan of the end result, which is difficult, because it's just grind until that last 10% of the creation, when it's like, oh, good, wow, the end result, I can see it, it's coming together now. So it's quite difficult knowing that you just got to grind and grind every time you create an image, even a really good image that you're proud of. You've always got that initial grind at the start. Not always, but often. So anyway, random late night thoughts. I should probably go to bed now. It's 2:00 in the morning, and definitely bedtime. So anyway, thanks for listening to my random late night rambles, and I will update with more on my progress in the next video.